Hello everyone, I am Kenshin. Welcome to Talking About History. We all know that the situation around the world is unstable, and criminal incidents are emerging endlessly in various places. This makes people think about who was the first convicted murderer in the United States. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. Without further ado, the show begins. The Mayflower voyage of 1620, where the seas were rough, the food was questionable, and the Billingtons were stirring up trouble like it was going out of style. Picture it: John Billington, his wife Eleanor, or Ellen, and their two teenage troublemakers, John Jr. and Francis, causing more drama than a soap opera. Now, these Billingtons weren't exactly besties with the Pilgrims. Nope, they were what you'd call strangers, recruited for the journey by some London bigwigs. While the Pilgrims were busy praying and being all pious, the Billingtons were off doing their own thing. According to William Bradford, the governor of Plymouth, the Billingtons were like a walking, talking chaos machine. He described them as one of the most profanest families in the whole colony. That's not exactly a glowing review, is it? But wait, it gets worse. John Billington wasn't just causing a ruckus, he was full-on raging. Donna Curtin, the bigwig over at the Pilgrim Hall Museum, says he was spouting mutinous speeches left and right, openly defying the Pilgrim leadership, and basically being a pain in the you-know-what. Then, things took a dark turn. In 1630, John Billington went from troublemaker to straight-up villain when he was found guilty of murder. Yup, you heard that right. Murder. Bradford himself wrote about it, saying Billington was guilty of willful murder, by plain and notorious evidence. And that's all she wrote. They strung him up, making him the first English colonist to be executed for murder in the New World. An explosive start. The Mayflower, a ship with a destiny as shaky as a Jenga tower in a hurricane. Originally aiming for Northern Virginia, that old wooden vessel got tossed around like a toy boat in a storm and ended up parking itself in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, on November 11, 1620. And let me tell you, the folks on board weren't exactly throwing a welcome party. See, the non-separatists, led by troublemaker-in-chief John Billington, were not thrilled about this detour. They had this whole plan to land in Virginia, but Mother Nature had other ideas. So now, they're stuck in this new place, and they're not happy campers. Their beef, those pesky work contracts. According to these non-separatists, they didn't sign up for this. They were supposed to be chilling in Virginia, not busting their humps 6 days a week in some strange land. So they started grumbling about breaking those contracts and doing their own thing. Now, imagine being William Bradford, the governor of Plymouth, trying to keep the peace while the ship's practically one spark away from a full-blown mutiny. He's like, hold up, folks, let's not do anything we'll regret. So what does he do? He whips out the Mayflower Compact, basically a giant, let's play nice, agreement, and gets everyone to sign it. Crisis averted. Phew. But just when you think things are settling down, young Francis Billington, the teenage troublemaker extraordinaire, decides it's a brilliant idea to play with fire, literally. He's messing around with homemade fireworks and his dad's musket when boom. He accidentally sets off a barrel of gunpowder. Talk about a hot mess. Thankfully, nobody gets hurt, but Bradford's probably sweating bullets, no pun intended. If that fire had spread, the Mayflower might have gone down in flames before they even set foot on land. So, you could say it was a close call, all thanks to those wild Billington boys. The first offense. The Saga of Plymouth Colony, where every twist and turn reads like a chapter from an epic adventure novel. Picture this. It's the winter of 1621, and things are bleak. More than half of the Mayflower gang have succumbed to disease and hunger. But hey, March rolls around, and the weather's like, alright, fine, I'll give you a break. Just when it seems like life might throw Plymouth a bone, guess who decides to stir the pot? Yep, you guessed it. John Billington, the trouble magnate himself. Now, this guy makes waves like it's an Olympic sport. Miles Standish, the military honcho of Plymouth, tells him to jump, and Billington's like, "Nah, I'm good." But wait, it gets juicier. Not only does Billington give Standish some serious lip, but he does it in front of everyone. Talk about bold moves. Donna Curtin, from the Pilgrim Hall Museum, sums it up perfectly. Billington's like that friend who always starts drama at the worst possible moment. Now, Plymouth's not about to let this slide. Oh no, they're bringing the hammer down. Billington lands himself in hot water, the first legal pickle in Plymouth colony history. The judge is like, "All right, buddy, you wanna act up? Fine. We'll tie your neck and heels together." Ouch. Frank Bremer, our history guru, explains that this punishment wasn't exactly a day at the spa. Back then, they didn't have fancy jails, so they got creative with their discipline. But Billington's not so keen on becoming a human pretzel, so he does the next best thing. He grovels. Yep, he eats a slice of humble pie and begs for forgiveness. But mark my words, this ain't the last we'll hear of John Billington and his shenanigans. Oh no, this guy's just getting started. It's like Plymouth's own soap opera, and Billington's the star of the show. Can't wait to see what he pulls next. Young John gets lost. Picture this. It's the wilds of early America, and John Billington's kid decides to play his own version of hide and seek. But here's the kicker, he disappears for a whopping 5 days. Yep, you heard that right, 5 whole days. Now, imagine you're the Plymouth crew. You've got this teenager running amok in the woods, and you're like, what now? Panic stations, right, but hold on to your hats, because young John isn't just chilling in the backyard, he's 20 miles away, kicking it with the Wampanoag tribe at Nauseat. Getting the lost boy back is like threading a needle in a hurricane. See, a few years back, another bunch of English folks had done some shady stuff to the Nauseat tribe. Captain Thomas Hunt, total pirate vibes, rolled in, kidnapped a bunch of Nauseat youths, and sold them off as slaves in Spain. Yeah, not cool. So, Plymouth's leaders are sweating bullets, trying to make things right. They march up to the Nauseat settlement, hat in hand, and lay it all out. They're like, "Listen, we messed up. Big time. Sorry about that whole kidnapping and selling your people into slavery thing. Once and always a knave." Fast forward to 1624, and Plymouth was brewing with drama fit for a Shakespearean play. You've got this London clergyman, John Lifford, who waltzes into town with a Bible in one hand and a sneaky agenda in the other. Instead of spreading the good word, he's playing double agent, ratting out the pilgrims to their investors across the pond. But wait, it gets juicier. Another troublemaker, John Oldham, joins the party. These guys are like the original gossip queens, spilling tea left and right about the pilgrims' dirty laundry. And who's caught in the middle of it all? None other than our friend John Billington. When the truth comes out, Lifford and Oldham get the boot, kicked out of Plymouth faster than you can say, drama llama. But what about Billington? Despite being knee-deep in the mess, he somehow dodges the banishment bullet. Bradford's not too pleased though. In a letter to his buddy across the pond, he straight up calls Billington a knave, a 17th century burn if ever there was one. Now, knave wasn't just your run-of-the-mill insult back then. It was like slapping someone with a verbal gauntlet. Think untrustworthy, shady, and downright disrespectful. In other words, not the kind of guy you'd want to invite to your Sunday brunch. And the land be purged from blood. Picture this. It's 1630, and Plymouth colony is buzzing like a beehive after a decade of settling in. The Billingtons, despite their rocky past, managed to snag themselves a piece of land and some cows to tend to. But just when it seemed like things were looking up, tragedy struck. Young John Billington Jr., the son, kicks the bucket in 1627, leaving his old man, John Sr., to stew in his own anger. And boy, did that anger simmer. One day, Billington Sr. gets into a spat with a neighbor. Most folks would let it slide, but not our John. Nope, he takes matters into his own hands, quite literally. He ambushes a poor lad named John Newcomen and blasts him with a gun. The poor kid doesn't stand a chance. Now, picture this. Billington, pushing 50, goes up against a 17-year